All right, this is going to be your test review for your first test. You want to make sure you have a little bit of scratch paper. We don't have too much room on here, and so we're going to use scratch paper to do some work. Also, make sure you have a copy of this review. All right, we're going to start with section number 1, which is converting fractions, decimals, and percents, and comparing and ordering absolute value. So what we're going to do is we're going to take either the fraction, decimal, or percent, and we're going to convert it to the other two pieces that we are missing. So the first fraction is 7/8. So for 7/8, we want to go ahead and divide that. 7/8. You want to put the numerator inside. The one you say first, your numerator, always goes inside, denominator on the outside. Now 8 cannot go into 7, so we're going to put a 0 there. We're going to add a decimal and a 0 here. So what we're going to do is 8 times 8, which is 64. And so 70 minus 64 is going to give me 6. I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. So now I have 60. We want to see how many times 8 can go into 60, which will be 7. And that's going to give me 56. And when I subtract that, I have 4 left over. Add another 0 and bring it down. And 8 can go into 40 5 times. And that's going to end our problem. It's going to leave us with the remainder of 0. So there is my decimal. So we're going to throw that right here. 8, if I can write, 875. Now you want to remember when we're going from a decimal to a percent, we locate the decimal and we are going to move it 2 places to the right. 1, 2. So our percent would be 87.5%. All right, problem number 2, we're starting with this. And you want to remember, if you forgot your place values, this is your tenths place value, your hundredths place value, and your thousandths place value. So now I have 2 place values, which is your hundredths. So we say this as 95 hundredths. Now that's not in simplest form. We want to make sure we put it in simplest form so we don't lose any points. And these are both multiples of 5, so I'm going to go ahead and divide my numerator and my denominator by 5. So I'm going to take 95 divided by 5. That can go in there 1 time. 4 left over, bring down the 5. 4 can go into 45 9 times. And that's going to end that problem for us. So 19 is my new numerator. And then I take 100 divided by 5. Well, 5 can go into 10 2 whole times. Bring down that 0, and 5 can't go into 0, so 20, and that ends that problem. And so our new denominator is 20, and that's in simplest form. Now we're going to change this to a percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right, and so that's going to give us 95%. Now the next one, this percent sign, we're going to go backwards to the decimal. So we're going to be moving it to the left. This percent sign saying, hey, you can't pass me, go back the other way. Now we don't see a decimal, so anytime you don't see the decimal, it's at the very, very end. And we're going to move it 2 places, 1, 2. And so that's going to be 0.65. Now when I say that correctly, it's going to give me the fraction. So there's 2 place values. And when I say this correctly, it's 65 hundredths. So you write what you said. I said 65 hundredths. Now that's not in simplest form because I noticed they're both multiples of 5. So I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 5. So I'm back to that scratch paper. 65 divided by 5. Well, that's going to go 1 time with 1 left over. I'm going to bring down the 5. 5 can go into 15 3 times, and that's going to end that problem for us. So 13 is my new numerator, and we already did 100 divided by 5 up here, so I know that that's 20. All right. Number 4, Fez is a repairman for an appliance company. On Monday, he drove 82 1/10 mile for his repair job. Tuesday, he drove 82 1/3 mile. I'm going to highlight those numbers there. And Wednesday, he drove 82 3/10 miles. Thursday, he drove 82 4/500 miles. Put these miles in order from least to greatest, and if you need a number line, you can. I am going to show you them lined up on top of each other, and I'm going to change them all to decimals so I can compare them easily. So this first one's already a decimal, so I'm just going to write that guy right here. The second one is 82 1/3, so I'm going to take that 1/3 and I'm going to divide it to see what that's going to give me as a decimal. So I'm going to do 1 divided by 3. Numerator inside, denominator out. I said the 1 first. 1 divided by 3. So that's going to be a 0, decimal 0. 3 can go into 10 3 times with 1 left over. I'm going to add another 0 and bring it down. And what I notice here is that 10 is going to start to repeat there because I can go 3 times, and then it's going to be 9. So this is going to be a repeater, 0.3 repeating. So I'm going to draw a little arrow over here, and I'm going to say this is 82.3 repeating. Because you want to write your answer in original form. So now I'm going to line that guy right here, 82.3 repeating. Now this one is 82 3/10. So remember your place values, 3/10 means I won't need one little dash there. So 82, there's your tenths, so 3/10. 82 3/10. Now I notice these are the same number. So if I was to actually extend this, remember, this next one will be a 3, and the number to follow this 3 would actually be a 0. So I'm going to do that just in case, and then I'm going to actually add a 0 here so that all my place values are even. Now this guy's already a decimal, so let's just write him here, 82.45. And now I have them all as decimals, and I compare them from least to greatest. Now these are all positive, so we're not worried about negatives. So if I look here, my whole numbers don't help me. So I've got to look at this part right here. That's the first thing I'm going to look at to see which is the smallest number, because that's going to be my lowest number. And that's going to be this 1. 1 is going to be my smallest, so that belongs to this 82 1/10. So I'm going to put that first, 82.1, because it's in the original form. Now this guy's done. I don't need him anymore. He's gone. Now I'm looking here at these ones, 3, 3, 4. What I notice is 3 is the smallest one, but there's 2 of those. So now I'm going to look at this place value to see which one would be smaller. And 0 is smaller. So this one is going to be my next number, which is the 82.3, not repeating. So just this one right here, which is 82 3/10. So 82 3/10. Gone. He's gone. So now the next one is that 3, which belongs to the, oh, I'm sorry, I crossed off with the wrong one. This is my next one, which is this guy right here, 82 1/3. Sorry, I crossed the wrong one off. And then leaves you with this guy at the end, 82.45. Try to remember to write those in the original form. All right, number 5 says use the definition of absolute value to explain why 8 is greater than -11, but the absolute value of 8 is less than the absolute value of 11. So what you want to remember is that absolute value, the definition of your absolute value, is the distance a number is from 0. So the reason why 8 is greater is because it's a positive number and this is a negative number. Now the reason why this would be greater is because when I take the absolute value of 8, it's 8, and the absolute value of -11, this is 11 spaces away from 0. So it becomes a positive number because it wants the distance from 0, which now makes it greater. Now remember, if they throw the negative on the outside, then this becomes -11 because of the outside one. But if it's on the inside only, it's going to be positive. So make sure you remember that. Number 6, what is the difference between the absolute value of W and Y? Now difference means subtraction. So I'm first going to find the point W. And the point W is right here. And we need Y, this one right here. So the absolute value, that's going to be important also. The absolute value of W is the absolute value of 8. Y is the absolute value of -2, and I want the difference, which means I'm subtracting the 2. So let's take those out. The absolute value of -8 is 8. The absolute value of -2 is 2. And this guy says, hey, bring me down. So 8 minus 2 is going to give you 6. So 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, let's go to the back. Should I pull those apart there? All right, number 7. Alyssa will correctly label these numbers on a number line, which will be closest to 48. So we want the one closest to 48. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these guys and I'm going to line them up on top of each other, and then I'm going to see which one's the smallest, and that's going to put me closest to 48. So I have 48.4. This one is 48.09. And just so my place values are equal in length, I'm going to put a 0 there. Now 48.5, we know that a half is 0.5. So 48.5, and just so I can have them equal right there. Now 3/5. We got to figure out what 3/5 is. So I'm going back to my scratch paper, and I'm going to do 3 divided by 5. Numerator inside. So 5 can't go into 3, so decimal 0. 5 can go into 36 times, and that's going to give me 30. And that's going to be left over, so that's going to be 0.6. So this is 48.60. And now when I look at those, 4, 0, 5, 6, the one closest to 48, it's going to be this guy right here, so C. All right, that was section number 1. Make sure you make a note card and ask your teacher if you have any questions before the test. Good luck.